then they kind of tell us that that's going to be seen as cheesy and that's why like we're not going to be seen as a rock band. Then you know what? Who gives a fuck about being a rock band? Who cares? Like, why would I care if they think that I'm a rock singer or not? Who gives a shit? Okay, very important before we start this video, y'all know what my channel is all about. Showing respect. I'm going to give my honest thoughts, but I want to make sure that no one goes and spreads anger or anything like that. A reminder of like what our music's all about. Love over fear. It must always end in hope. We are going to be very fair, but we're also going to be kind, and we're going to be respectful to everyone that kind of takes part in this video. The only reason I'm making this is because I actually resonated a lot with some things. Granted, we are nowhere to the success of Yungblud, but with us being, you know, fully independent, fan dependent, like we create all of our own music, you know, we're like everything we do is by us, right? And we've had some interesting instances with whether people think we're rock or not, and whether people think we are deserving of being called a rock band, which to me is crazy because I don't know how you could hear our music and not think it's rock music. But so this video actually really resonated with me, okay? And I'm going to be very honest through it, but again, respectful. So this is from a channel of a lead singer who's very, very talented, named Justin Hawkins, and I'm going to put a link to his channel in my description. Even if you hate this vid and you hate what he has to say, I'll be really honest, I disagree with a lot of it, but he does make great content, and more than that, he is a fantastic musician. He's a fantastic songwriter, guitarist, vocalist. So please, 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 even if you really, really dislike some of the things that he has to say in here, be very respectful and know that I'm coming from a place where I respect him as an artist, as a musician, but I also love Yungblud. Yungblud is an artist from England who has blown up on the scene, and I think some of y'all know that I've liked him for quite a few years. Recently, he made somewhat of a genre switch and started leaning more into rock and his rock roots. Some might say pop rock. It doesn't matter. I don't care about genres. I just care if it's emotional and if people can connect to it. And I will say his most recent album, I genuinely love. I genuinely love it. I love belty boys because I am a belty boy and people who will let a vocal rip. And I love that he is bringing that to like our generation. And I love that he's pretty unapologetic about it. Now, to give some context, recently he had performed at Ozzy Osbourne's tribute concert and then performing at the VMAs with Aerosmith. And it created a lot of controversy. Basically, not that any of this drama matters. You know, some things with Justin Hawkins and his brother, there were some things said. He addressed it on YouTube. And I thought, I've never done this on the channel before, but I was like, let's watch his vid. I'm going to say things that I disagree with because honestly, I actually disagree with almost all of it. I'm not going to lie. But I want to remind everybody, like, everybody's got opinions. I'm going to come from a place where a lot of times I'm probably going to say, who cares? I think that a lot of that's just because I've seen the worst of the music industry. And I have very much thrown up, like, I do not care what genre someone is or if they're a rocker or not. I genuinely just care if they treat people well. And a lot of this is going to come down to the fact that y'all know we love our listeners more than anything, and we love loving on our listeners. And something I genuinely love about Yungblud is the way he treats his listeners. I think an artist can be, I think the one place where people should judge an artist is not based on their sound, is not based on the songs they write. It is based on how they treat their fans and their listeners and how much importance and worth they put on them. And he genuinely loves his people. And for me, that's everything. So we're going to jump into this. And please remember, please be respectful. You know, Justin Hawkins has every right to his own opinions. And he's obviously coming from a place of a completely different experience than I am. And he has reached a success that we haven't even begun to taste yet. So it's two completely different worlds of how I'm approaching this. But I think it's a cool thing to put on the channel. And I want to make sure I'm not just taking advantage of his content. So I'm making sure I'm putting the link even pinned in the comments so you can go watch it too. You know, this is something that he made. And whether you like it or not, it's important that we credit people and we don't just take advantage of their content. Because obviously I am in some sense milking views off this by providing my perspective, right? Let's be honest about that. So I've already been long-winded. Let's do this. All right, here we go. Justin Hawkins rides again, basically addressing if Yungblud is a rock poser or not.
I think I'm going to talk about Ozzy Osbourne. I'm going to talk about Yungblud. I'm going to talk about my brother and the mischief that he's got himself into simply by speaking his mind. Obviously, this is in reference to the Ozzy Osbourne tribute at this week's VMAs. My younger brother, Daniel Francis Rossi Hawkins, we all watched it, and I think we all found it a little bit triggering in different ways. I think Dan actually was so triggered, in fact, that he instructed his social media manager to post something along the lines of "What a bunch of bellends," which is, just poking a little bit of fond, good-natured fun at the people involved. But I think he was pretty, but it was born of a triggered state.
I was gonna say, like, is it a good bit of fun if it was like from a triggered state? That doesn't seem like a good bit of fun. That seems pretty intentional. Like, that doesn't seem like you're just trying to like joke around. That seems like you're making a serious statement. So, but I can always respect somebody defending their brother. I do the exact same thing for my brother. So respect there.
I think I'm going to just watch a little bit of it and explain, I think, what I think irked my brother, and I'll probably maybe I'll be able to sort of contextualise that with our own upbringing and our own sort of views on music and literature and stuff.
So I have not seen this, by the way. I was just told that I should definitely check it out. I saw the social media posts and stuff, and that's kind of what frustrated me, I guess. And so I'm interested actually to see what his perspective is here.
Talk about why Allentown, Pennsylvania, why it hurt him so. So MTV's Video Music Awards saw Extreme's Nuno Bettencourt, one of the greatest guitar players that ever walked the earth, join Aerosmith's Joe Perry, one of my favourite guitar players of all time, and Steven Tyler, somebody who influenced me and a lot of people my age, I suppose, in a medley of Ozzy Osbourne's songs in New York City. Performing alongside them was British musician Yungblud, who arrived at the VMAs sporting, in the words of esteemed tabloid publication The Mail Online, a pair of black leather pants with matching boots, accessorised with gunmetal coloured accessories.
All right, there's some
black leather Sherpa jacket.
Okay, at least he's like very I love that self-effacing, self-aware. That's fun.
I don't know what a Sherpa jacket looks like, which he threw on the red carpet before putting on his shirtless display. That's the spirit. Yungblud! Right, so what he's done there is what I call
Jim Morrison. Oh, yeah, okay.
Cross one leg over the other.
I mean,
go into the Christ pose.
It's iconic.
And I'm 50. So, I've seen this before. Anyway, Yungblud, of course, was credited for his performance at the Back to the Beginning show in July, which sadly proved to be Ozzy's last. And ahead of performing at the VMAs, he spoke about his friendship with the Black Sabbath legend.
They don't believe how toxic this is. If you're still using a plastic or wooden cutting board, you need to hear this. I never post stuff like this, but
It's like really showing my age there. So the targeted advertising on YouTube on this occasion is about chopping boards.
You've been on this insane summer.
Mental.
It's insane.
He's here, he's with me, I've got his cross on. Ozzy forever, man. We're going to do it.
Just to find an excuse to say something shitty about an artist, I think some of the UK tabloids have gone, oh, there's cause for concern because of the way Yungblud is behaving on the red carpet. Which is a preposterous place to be anyway. How can anybody's behaviour be judged on how they act on a red
100%.
carpet? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's not a natural environment for anybody. And I think even somebody who is a seasoned showbiz professional, with the kind of training that Youngblood's had, I'm not saying that in a sneering way, but I think it's mental.
Yeah, like, I look, like, dude, I've done like interviews and like PR and stuff, and like it doesn't matter how much like PR tries to like give you training. Like I'm such like an introverted person, honestly, that like I hate those interviews because I don't know how to maneuver them. Like you just want to be yourself, but then they kind of ask you certain questions that try to like pull something out of you. So you're also trying to be a little bit reserved and protective, and it's a really difficult balance. With like the Morrison thing though, like I don't know, he may have been talking to his boys, you know, and they're like, dude, when you go on the red carpet, like do the Morrison, it's gonna look dope. Like I don't know how that came about. It's just fun, you know. I guess I don't see that as a criticism. I kind of see that as like he's just having a good time on the red carpet. I don't think it's that serious.
If you watch like old Mick Jagger interviews, you'll see he's quite posh. He would say, well, actually, it makes my head spin when I think about some of the things that we've experienced. And then by the end of the 70s even, you've got, you know, you find 15 years in show business has created the Mick Jagger that we now know. It's like that, where he would say like, well, it is mental, of course, yeah. All I wanted was a little shout about, you know, and then it's an exaggeration of it. And that's what's already happening here.
You American girls are mental, man. You're like loud. It's like crazy.
So I know what he's doing. I think he's doing Ozzy. I think the tribute to Ozzy actually extends to what he was doing on the red carpet. So right from the minute he got there, it's like, okay, this is for Ozzy.
Ozzy said to me, man, he said, do not care about what people think, they'll get it later. And I loved it, man. You know what I mean? I think he was always my North Star. Yeah. And I was always just a mad, you know what I mean? So like having someone like that to look up to who really kind of expressed individuality and craziness, it was a dream for me as a kid, you know what I mean?
And now you're channeling him.
I so, man, all the way tonight, man. Ozzy forever.
One difference though, Ozzy was fucking hilarious. He really was funny.
I mean, I think Yungblud's funny too. If you've seen him on talk shows, like he's hilarious. I don't know. Look, I mean, I'm not one to talk. Like I try to like clean my speech up if I do like an interview or something like that, just because I can mumble my words like crazy. Hashtag Indiana. Who's your boy, you know, and say certain words like chiropractor, you know, weird and stuff like that. So I try to like really pronounce my words and stuff when I'm in those interviews. But if I get comfortable, I'll start reverting back to like not, you know, speaking good. So I don't know. A lot of that could be being uncomfortable, you know, which I totally understand. So,
okay, so let's play the clip of the
this is what I want to get to.
I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, there's no way he's going to be able to play it.
What an amazing riff. Look at Nuno kicking off. See, I'm sitting here, I actually think this is a pretty reasonable... I think that's a pretty reasonable tribute up to there. Sounds amazing. It's Nuno. I think that's Kevin from Extreme on there as well. I'm not showing much of the bass player, but I'm hoping it's Pat Badger, my friend. I don't know. We played with Yungblud in this festival called Rock for the People or something like that in the Czech Republic last year. We didn't get to hang out or anything, but so we were listening to it on the side, and it sort of sounded. I don't know. It sounded the vocal sounded tremendously processed to me. Like it was a lot of, I think pitch correction happening in real time, but that's not what's happening here. It's actually very human. And I think it's pretty rough around the edges as well. I mean, Extreme are one of those bands that, you know, everything that you hear is being played by human beings.
Okay, look, I understand what he's saying here. I don't know a modern artist who is like at the very top whose sound engineer does not have some form of pitch correction on their processing, on their vocal. I will say I've seen vids of him live, and it does sound incredible. And like his engineer definitely has his vocal dialed in very well. That doesn't bother me though. And it doesn't bother me because there has been an unrealistic standard set now in the industry on like what you have to sound like live. So it doesn't bother me. To me, it's more his performance, which is incredible. I love his performances, how he engages his emotion. He definitely puts on like a rock show, which I love. Now, granted, we don't use pitch correction simply because, well, honestly, I don't know how to put it into our setup. And I don't know if I would use it because there is something real to hitting certain soars and huge notes that are emotional and things that you don't want pitch correction to get a hold of. So I don't even know if I would use it, but I do not have a problem with an artist, especially of his size, when everyone is sharing out clips of you nonstop. Every moment is captured, which means every moment is judged and it's overblown and overdone. I totally get it. So it actually does not bother me at all. With someone like Justin Hawkins, I get it. Look, this dude has a great voice. He's a lead singer of The Darkness, by the way. I should have said that at the beginning. He has a fantastic voice, a fantastic range. I understand with like kind of the era he comes from where he'd have a problem with that. To me, dude, I don't give a shit.
Better or worse, and I think that extends to the performance here. I mean, I suppose one of the things that irks like musicians of a certain age is to sort of watch Ozzy invent heavy metal with Black Sabbath, do his solo stuff with Randy Rhoads and all this amazing decades of brilliant music, and then sort of see Ozzy turn into like the household name Ozzy, you know, the sort of post MTV television series Ozzy, and then you kind of think, well, what the fuck does that, all those decades of being brilliant have to do with that? And then what the fuck does all those decades of inventing metal and having this incredible legacy got to do with Yungblud? And I feel like what irks musicians of a certain age is the fact that Yungblud seems to position himself. I mean, it feels cynical to some people, I think. I'm not saying that I feel this way, but it feels like he's cynically positioned himself as the natural heir to the Ozzy legacy, having had nothing to do with the really, really important stuff here. So I think people don't understand how he's ended up there. He's clearly come from stage school.
Okay, he's going into the Disney stuff because Yungblud was on Disney Channel. I had a feeling that this was coming. My only counter to that would be he's not only from England, he's from the North. He definitely would have grown up on Ozzy. And his last album, I can 100% hear a lot of the inspirations. I don't think it's necessarily fair to say that he placed himself as the natural heir. Now, could PR have had something to do with that, or a label push or something? Absolutely. I mean, that could 100% be a certain part of a marketing campaign or to promote a tour, all that kind of stuff. Even if that's the case, in no way would that diminish that Ozzy was a huge inspiration to him, that he has loved Ozzy Osbourne this whole time. I don't necessarily think it's fair to technically take that away from him as an artist on who his inspirations are. You know, I rarely talk about Miles Kennedy, who's the lead singer of Alter Bridge, but that's how I learned how to sing. And there will come a day where, I'll probably talk about how big of an inspiration he was to me. And people will be like, oh, he's just trying to, take advantage of the moment and plant himself like as this person trying to fill that hole, with a vocal style and all this kind of stuff. And it's not true. That's someone who has literally been responsible for my vocal style and how I sing. So I guess I just don't think that's, it's weird. It's a fair criticism because yes, there could have been a PR label push to make this all happen. At the same time, it could be 100% genuine, and I think that he deserves that benefit of the doubt 100%. All right, here comes the Disney Channel stuff because I knew this was coming, that Yungblud performed on Disney Channel. I knew it was coming.
The really, really important stuff here. So I think people don't understand how he's ended up there. He's clearly come from stage school.
You see Black Sabbath all over that. Heavily influenced. Yeah. I think Ozzy was always his North Star. Yeah.
All of this posturing is Jim Morrison meets the bloke from Stone Temple Pilots, meets everybody else who's ever owned a pair of leather trousers and gone like that. It's really 101. It's School of Rock stuff. It's just the latest in a long line of, I'm sorry to say it, posers.
There it is. So he mentioned like state school. All right. So I've actually seen interviews where Yungblud has never hidden the fact. I think he like went to like private schools or something like that, and like how he came up, whatever. But he's never tried to like promote himself as anything other than, which I respect. Look, I come from like a very different world, you know. Even for the last like 10 years, trying to grind the band to success. Like I've been in legit poverty. You know, like literally sleeping on floors for a couple of years and like having no place to live, you know, no way to like get food. Yeah, I mean, it's just different experiences. I don't think that's a fair criticism. I know a lot of artists who, you know, came from even wealthy families, and I don't think Yungblud came from a wealthy family, but they're fantastic artists and they're great, and they don't hide that they come from a family that was well off, and it doesn't diminish their creativity or what they do or how they perform. So that, like, it seems like a cheap shot to me to try to bring up like Disney Channel and then being like, oh, well, Ozzy was his North Star, he's on Disney Channel. Like when you're a kid, if Disney would offer me a certain amount of money to perform like on a TV show, like I'd 100% do it. Who gives a shit? I don't know. That feels like a little bit of a cheap shot. I apologize. My camera crashed right in the middle of shooting. So, and here we go.
You know, it's really 101. It's School of Rock stuff, you know. It's just the latest in a long line of, I'm sorry to say it, posers. See, that guitar tone is kind of not dissimilar to what Brian May would do, but I think what's happening here is like rock suddenly has like mainstream, center stage, the world's attention for one moment at the VMAs, like having been overlooked for, what, decades? Here we are at the MTV Awards. We have an opportunity to do a fitting tribute to Ozzy, which also puts rock on the map a little bit, inspires kids to listen to guitar music or stuff that's kind of got virtuoso playing in it. So everybody in this band is jostling for position. You get a little moment like that when you should probably let the riff breathe a little bit, and then Nuno's overplaying in that bit to try and go, look, I'm Nuno, remember me? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of, it feels a bit forced. I mean, maybe that's the bombast and the over-the-toppiness of rock, and maybe that's the ridiculous stuff that is missing from music.
I mean, which, like, fair, that's what I was actually going to say, and then he beat me to it, as I was going to be like, that is kind of, though, like, in the moment with rock, you know, you might overdo it a little bit. Like, it does happen.
It just feels like it's a bit too much in this one moment, and we have the spotlight just for this, you know, just for this. How long is this? 7 minute. Okay. For 7 minutes, the world.
He's really,
and this is what we've given them.
Nitpicking, not in a bad way, but he's going through every piece.
No doubt, Nuno's got the chops.
Yeah.
So what he's doing here is, you got the mic. Say this to the mic stand, right? And then it's like, okay, so it's like you've watched a movie about rock and metal, and it's more like, I suppose it's more like what a male stripper would do if there was some, do you know what I mean, like some heavy metal music playing. They'd be like this, how you doing? Right,
I mean,
you know, it'd be like that. It's not, it doesn't ring authentic, you know. Nobody, I don't think anybody listens to music and expresses themselves in a wholesome, authentic, you know, real way by doing, you know.
All right, first of all, I actually think Yungblud would probably take that as a compliment, that this is what a male stripper would do. But also, like, it's so difficult to judge that when you're not in the moment. I mean, many of y'all have seen us live, and, you know, I go off like a hope grenade at our shows. And a lot of that, though, is because of what our message is. I don't know how long it's been since whoever's at our show has heard the words, I love you, you're worthy, you're purposed, like you're built for this shit. I have no idea how long it's been since someone has said those words to them. So I try to so aggressively enforce that message at our shows, and it is 100% genuine. I'm never trying to overdo it. It is pure raw emotion. Yungblud at this show is performing in a way of, I mean, I don't know. I've seen a lot of acts from the 80s, 90s, and, you know, I'm sure Justin Hawkins too probably has some moments, you know, with the mic stand or something, you know, that's it's a little over the top, you know, it's got male stripper aura. I don't know if that's fair. Yeah, because I would just kind of see it as like, dude's just putting on a show. He's just putting on a show. He hears the girl screaming. He's having a good time. He's probably playing. I mean, he is playing with rock idols, and that's amazing. So he's just going for it. You know, I don't know. I guess I just find nothing weird about that.
Just don't.
I mean, that sounds great.
I think Nuno Betancourt's fingers are the 8th to 18th wonders of the world.
Oh, okay.
He can really play that guitar. There's nothing in there that's cheating.
I thought he was about to criticize. I would be like, "Oh, come on, bro. There's no way. Like, that sounds great." But all right, no.
Like, you know, laptop making him go faster or anything like that. He's just playing his guitar. He's just a guy with a guitar.
He's just
it really
ripping.
is carpentry, some steel, standing next to proper amps. They're Marshalls as well. Really good. I think he's going to have to look after his voice. It doesn't sound like a great technique, I'll be honest. It's a bit raw, like the fry that he's using isn't from years of blues singing. It's kind of like, it sounds painful. I think it is kind of, it's rock and roll.
I will give him this. One thing, look, I have no idea. I do not know Yungblud's warm-ups. I don't know his practice. I don't know how he takes care of his voice while on the road or on tour. It is funny he said that because I've watched him live, and sometimes I've thought, man, I really hope that this dude doesn't get nodes or blow his voice out, you know, and like he's not hurting his voice. Because he gets so into it, really rips like the rasp and rawness of his voice. It sounds really cool, but I actually appreciate that Justin Hawkins was actually like, it didn't come from like early blues practice, because you can create that rasp to become kind of natural. I got it a little bit. A lot of that is from, you know, singing that style. So I actually think in this whole video, that's actually probably the one thing that I agree with is I genuinely hope that, like, you know, I know there's clips of him drinking all the time and like smoking cigs, and a lot of that's just content. I do hope behind the scenes that he is, you know, staying healthy, drinking a lot of water, keeping his voice hydrated, keeping caffeine and alcohol down, and doing proper warm-ups, and, you know, not talking too much, not staying up too late. All those things take a huge toll on your voice vocally, especially for someone, if you're hitting big belts or big high notes. You can lose that real quick. Yeah, I hope that he's taking care of himself, because that is one thing that Justin Hawkins does say in this, and I'm like, fair. Yeah, fair. I really hope that he's taking care of his voice, because I genuinely like him so much as an artist.
Jim, but not as we know. It's kind of like, has this sort of Disney veneer over the top of it, like it's rock and roll seen through an Instagram filter of some sort, you know? That's what makes it galling, I think, for the people who have tweeted.
Okay.
You know, to voice, you know.
From this era of rockers, I understand. I just don't give a shit, because that's just his voice. I do understand where he's coming from. And again, right, he's coming from an era kind of right towards the end of where rock was really stopped getting attention. And I would argue that Justin Hawkins and the Darkness was probably one of the last, you know, like straight rock bands, you know, where it's not like hard rock, it's not like heavy metal, it's rock music. So fair play, I understand. I guess it's just like, I don't care about that. I also can't criticize that, because I would say we probably have a lot of vocals that sound like that. Justin Hawkins would probably rip one of our songs or one of our music videos to pieces, given what he's saying on here. So I guess it's more me being self-effacing of like, yeah, then he would destroy our music too in my voice. Fair enough.
Disdain. Let's put it that way. Do you know what it's like? It's actually like watching David Hasselhoff, who I think is one of the greats.
The guy from...
As you know, some of you will be aware, I wore a David Hasselhoff
whatever
t-shirt
that
every day for
lifeguard
100
show
days,
was,
and tweeted at him, and, you know, tried to tag him in Instagram posts and stuff. And I was really trying to demonstrate my love for that guy. So when I say that, that's not an insult.
Oh.
I just mean it's like rock and roll done by somebody who perhaps, you know, was famous for driving a talking car, and, you know, who you'd probably feel reassured by them wearing little red shorts and looking after you at the beach. That kind of, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like a television personality doing rock and roll. Just
All right, that is some serious British humor coming through, and I appreciate it because the sarcasm is so cut deep. But come on, bro, come on. I see your sense of humor, and it is funny. I mean, that's funny that he's driving the sarcasm so deep. So it's pretty funny.
do you know what I mean by that? Yeah. Here are two of my all-time heroes, Joe Perry and Steven Tyler from Aerosmith.
Oh, interesting.
Often referred to as America's greatest ever rock and roll band.
I guess I can hear
I
that
think Steven
coming
Tyler
from the
actually
darkness.
Announced his retirement a
Makes
little while
sense.
ago because he had an injury to his vocal cords. So it must have been quite emotional for people to, you know, go to this thing in New York, and then suddenly Steven Tyler gets up and it looks like he's about to sing. It's wonderful, really. Great moment. Can you imagine what he's going through there? I mean, it must be... to summon the courage, I think, to get up and do a vocal performance when you've already retired because you know you can't do it anymore. That's really balls of steel.
Okay, I'm actually really glad he said that. I was from the responses that I saw to this, I thought that he was going to trash him and his vocals, but that's not the case.
Amazing. And let's talk about the root lift. Fantastic work, really is. He's been upside down.
He said the root lift, and I was like, the root of the chord? What is he? I was like, what's a root lift? I was literally in my head, I was like, is this some form of theory that I've never heard of before? Like, I'm so confused. Like, what's a root lift? I was going through like my Rolodex of music theory terms. He's talking about his hair. All right, got me. You got me.
All afternoon. How do you say afternoon without pronouncing the hard consonants? Afternoon.
All right, team, listen up. There's a national blood shortage. Big Ten schools, how do we get students, fans, alumni to donate?
Yeah. Lost and found. Lost and found is the first line when you really sort of think, oh yeah, Steven Tyler still got it.
Yeah, that rasp.
There's a couple of little moments there when the old Steven Tyler comes through. It's actually really nice. You know, for a long time Aerosmith fan, that's actually really...
Yeah, it's funny.
Really
He's actually pretty giddy right now. I love it.
Yeah, that sounds like hard work. We got there. He actually made the note.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult for me to watch, I think, because like Steven Tyler, childhood hero. Joe Perry, childhood hero. Yungblud is also there. I mean, where are the surviving members of Black Sabbath? Why aren't they doing this? You know what I mean? That's the stuff that I think is, you know, that we should be probably commemorating.
I mean, okay, fair.
The really amazing stuff. Where are you going? I suppose part of me is envious because I would love to have the opportunity to sing with Steven Tyler. I sometimes think I was born too early and too late as well. Too late because the golden era of music has gone. You know, where are the poets? Who's the modern equivalent of, for example, Jeff Buckley? You know, someone who looks beautiful, probably flawed character, probably speaks a great, you know, says a lot of cool stuff and ethereal, angelic, poetic things in interviews, but is completely troubled, tortured, and uses music as catharsis, writes beautiful melodies, sings amazingly, and can play guitar. Where are those people?
But those artists do exist. I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or our own horn, but it's like there are artists out there who are fully independent, have been through some dark shit, and they put pain to page. But, you know, I'm not sure if this is what he's saying, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I guess the way I took it, I really do not buy into this idea that when you're putting pain to page, that you have to expel that pain onto other people, that you have to be this tortured soul. I'm more of the reflection of put that pain to page, but bring people hope. Find a way to take that pain, that you're putting onto the page, that honesty, that vulnerability, and figure out how to turn all of those words and those concepts into hope. I really don't buy into this. I've been told it so many times of like, you know, we need to write like a song that has an edge on it in a way of, you know, like you should go into the negative because it draws people in. You should. And it's funny to me because I'm like, we literally have a song that's based off of Edgar Allan Poe's Alone called But One Ghost. And it's one of the heavier, darker songs that we have, but it's hopeful. But I'm like, that song has such an edge on it. And I don't really understand what some of these representatives and stuff are talking about when they're like, you need a song that's like, you know, you can write a song that's more somber. And I'm like, we have a lot of somber songs, but they end in hope. And they think it's cheesy, and they think that's what makes us not rock, is that we have that rule. You know, my rule with every one of our songs is it must always end in hope, because that's our message. Then they kind of tell us that that's going to be seen as cheesy, and that's why like we're not going to be seen as a rock band. Then you know what? Who gives a fuck about being a rock band? Who cares? Like, why would I care if they think that I'm a rock singer or not? Who gives a shit? I'm not on this earth to try to prove to people that we're a rock band and I'm a rock singer. And I actually, honestly, I'm not saying that's what Justin Hawkins is saying, but I actually think that he would agree with that statement.
Go on. I'm not sure how much of Joe Perry's playing is actually audible in this. I feel like I know Nuno's on an electric guitar because I sort of cut to a wider shot just now, and I saw him in the background playing something that looked like his Washburn, and the sort of, you know, the vibrato technique that you're hearing isn't really matching what Joe Perry's fingers are doing, and he's just soloing all the way through. Joe Perry doesn't care about this sort of thing. He's just there because he's Joe Perry.
Because he's Joe Perry.
Legend.
I was going to say, legend.
Genius.
A legend.
I think.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah, like a Keith Richards type. You know what I mean? Someone who you love to watch play, but you don't really know what he sounds like because there's always some other bloke doing solos over the top. Ordinarily, it would be Brad Whitford, but it's Nuno Bettencourt this time. Yeah, well, there he is. Then he came up there. Lovely. That's it. I think Yungblud stole a little kiss there, and Steven Tyler just seemed to be like, well, I hope some of what I've said today can shed some light on what musicians of a certain age, i.e. my age, find irksome about a performance like that. I think it's just about integrity, authenticity, and seeing something that's kind of has genuinely been outsider's music since Ozzy invented it, to be sort of front and centre like that, and then to be, I don't know, whitewashed in that sort of slightly galling television way. It can be just hard. It's hard to watch when you spent your life playing this stuff, you know.
Okay.
So I guess that's more or less it, really. I'll leave you with this final thought.
So here's the thing. Like, I'm probably going to title this video like "Yungblud is a poser?" ? Because that's obviously what this whole vid is kind of all encompassing of. It's also like kind of a clickbait title, let's be real, but it's YouTube and that's how this shit works, sadly. I mean, I have to totally admit that like it's hard for me to kind of like empathize with that just because I'm not from that generation, and I don't know the level of influence that like those artists had like on, say, like a Justin Hawkins, The Darkness. So like I have to admit that, because even though I might hear that and think like who cares? Like who cares? Just let people let people have good things. Let people do good things, which is honestly like my ending position. Like I just don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Just let people have wins. And if they have great marketing behind them, a great label behind them, like good for them. That's great. I know what it's like not having that, and it sucks. So we've hit a wall so many times being independent that I kind of have learned now just to like appreciate people's success and seeing them win. At the same time, I don't know this perspective, so it's not really fair for me to necessarily disagree or judge, because I'm trying to understand his point. Because I'm sure there's merit there. It's just simply that I can't relate to it. So I mean, we're gonna hear like his like kind of closing statements. I understand people like freaked out about this. I saw so much stuff like on Twitter, of course, because social media is the bane of all existence. If I was Yungblud, I would not find much offense out of this, just because Yungblud is having immense success right now, and like whatever. People are also allowed to have their opinions, and Justin Hawkins is, I mean, like objectively a great frontman, great lead singer, great band, and definitely has like earned the right to have his, you know, opinion and how he sees things. I guess for me, it kind of comes down to, I just don't care. Like the one thing I can relate on is I know how difficult the music industry is and how difficult it is to break through. Trust me. Seen a lot of losses in the last 8 years, a lot of failures. I just don't care anymore. I understand like keeping the integrity, but at least from what I've seen with Yungblud is he's a great songwriter and he is a great vocalist, and he's very, very good at performing, drawing the crowd in, putting on a great concert. Most importantly, he's great to his people, which y'all know I said at the beginning of the vid. I get wanting to protect the integrity of rock music. I guess for me, I can't really relate to that because we do use backing tracks, like because we're cinematic rock. So we have 10 different pads and full orchestras behind our music that we have to play during like live concerts, and we're trying to bring like a wall of sound experience. And I'm sure that like he would hate that. That would not offend me, because I understand where he's coming from. I hope this makes sense. Like I hope you all understand where I'm coming from. It would not offend me if he was critical of us for doing that, because of where he comes from in the era of rock that he comes from and who his influences are. And I have great respect for that. I also accept that that would be a criticism of us, but my response is, I don't give a shit. All right, let's hear his final thoughts.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing the world that Ozzy gave a shit about him. I'll see you on the ice.
Oh, he just ended that with a banger. I wasn't ready for that. What a strong, man, that threw down a profound statement right there. I can appreciate ending your vid like that. Just my final thoughts. This vid is very long. I don't know if anyone's even going to like this video at all. One of the main reasons that I just wanted to watch this on the channel was because I had heard that it was super butthurty and like negative and blah, blah, blah. I honestly didn't take it that way. I took it a little more. He was quite objective. He's just approaching it from his opinion, which he has every right to, and from his experience and his perspective and the era of rock that he comes from. Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. I just don't come from that era. And so I don't have that opinion. I don't have that perspective. Mine's very different. I guess I'll end it with this. We get a very disregarding comment a lot from a lot of whether a band's opening for us or whatever is going on, if we're opening for a band or whatever, if we're on the road. You know, we pride ourselves in our live performance, very much so. And we always get a very strong reaction out of our listeners. They're amazing. And we'll always have one of these bands on the lineup, or if there's a representative there, you know, kind of like, you know, from an agency hearing us out. And we always get the same thing. It's always, oh, you guys are so good. That was fantastic. You know, but like, it's not like hard rock. You know, it reminds me of Coldplay, and it's a backhanded shot. And every time I take it as the greatest compliment, because what you are telling me is that we remind you of a band that plays to 80,000 people every single night, brings joy to everybody in that place, and from what I've seen, represents themselves with love and hope, and does not try to consider themselves any genre or any era of music. Why would I ever take that as a negative? Because who gives a shit if we're rock or not?